Ansha Goel from PM School. We have Mansi Mittal with us. She's a product manager at Microsoft, and today she is here to share her journey, her thoughts on aspiring to be hired, cracking your next PM role. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And Mansi, here you go.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. So, let me just share my screen to begin with, and then we can go from there. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay,
Yes, it's visible.
sure. Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Mansi Mittal, and in today's session, I'll take you down through cracking your next PM role. But before we dive into the agenda, let me start by giving a brief about myself to set the context. So, I did my graduation from Indian Institute of Technology, majoring in system science in 2018. I then moved to become a developer with Visa, where I worked for 3 years. So as a developer, I kind of understood, one aspect of product as in how to build it, but I hope to gain more holistic understanding of why to build it in the first place and who to build it for and what exactly to build. So this led me to take a risk and join a London-based startup as a PM intern before joining Indian School of Business to pursue my MBA. So at the startup, I had the opportunity to build and witness a product from zero to one. This hands-on experience, it crystallized my vision, and after months of preparation and multiple interviews, I landed a manager two role with Microsoft. It's been now almost 1.5 years for me here, and have loved the work and the impact that I've been creating and contributing. So the learning curve has been steep with AI, Microsoft, Copilot. It's exciting times in the tech industry in general. This is a brief about me, and let's keep this session very interactive so that every one of us can make the most of it. So I will initially go with the slides, and then at the end of it, we can open the floor for any questions that you would have. But feel free to type in your questions during the conversations and during the slides as well, so that we can take it up in the end maybe. So hope this helps you with the context, and then let's move ahead with a very basic question. Maybe most of you already know about it. What is product management? So let's just first understand what exactly is it and what is the skill set absolutely necessary to be a great PM. And without further ado, simply put, a product manager is responsible for ensuring that a team ships a great product. Some of the frequently used statements to describe product managers are a mini CEO of a product, he or she who achieves influence without authority, someone who sits right between the UX, design, tech, business, and customers. While all of these are true, a product manager's job is much more. As a PM, one needs to be the advocate of the customers, understand their requirements, translate them to product features, and then ensure that these features are built in a very cohesive manner that exactly solves the customer needs that they are built for. So, as a PM, one focuses on everything from the big picture to very small details. Now we go to the very key responsibilities of a PM. As you can see on the slides, it's basically conducting customer research. You are trying to understand what are the pain points of the customers, then building the product strategy, deciding on what is the product goal, how does it align with your business goal, the features and the differentiators which your product will have. After your feature is built, you analyze the data, have a data driven approach to things, and take very informed data backing backed decisions, and finally coordinate development. So this might be something, it in some of the companies it's more of a role, somewhere the PM does not have to delve a lot into it, which is basically overall coordinating the development of design, then prototyping, and finally building the product. So now let's deep dive into the skill set that a great PM must possess. The most crucial one is customer empathy. As rightly said by Steve Jobs in one of his talks, you got to start with the customer experience and work backwards towards the technology. You cannot start with technology and then figure out what needs the product is solving and who it is for. So, here a PM needs to be self aware and not project their own preferences onto the users. Remaining objective and open minded during customer interviews is one of the greatest art to learn. So always remember that as a PM, it is better to be the first one to invalidate your idea rather than waiting for the market to do it for you. And with this, we come to the next one. In today's day and age, where we create 2.5 quintillion bytes of data every single day, being a master of data driven decision making is highly sought after skill. So, as a product manager, you should be able to decide your next feature or next steps for that matter, not just based on the intuition, but rather on real world data of how the users are using your product. With these two, a very basic uh, requirement for the product managers would be to manage multiple stakeholders from cross functional teams, and hence strong communication becomes an utmost necessity for a great PM. Product management is a highly collaborative role. PMs need to ensure that everyone involved is on the same page. And great PMs don't forget to specify critical information and are willing to explain the very obvious to make sure that it's understood and delivered well. They also sense and tackle hard issues in writing. So even early in the development process. And finally, one of the most important and very tricky kind of skill set to gain is ruthless prioritization and deciding on the scope of the product. So it's a routine activity for product manager, and as a so-called CEO of the product, PMs must understand and balance a wide variety of factors, including the company goals, what are the customer demands, how is the competition acting, and some of the prioritization techniques widely used during case competitions or even in the industry are Moscow method, the rice scoring, and Kano, which I've shown here, and you can read more about it on the internet. So yes, here we go. These are the four skill set you must work on to be a great PM: customer empathy, data driven decision making, strong communication, and prioritization and scoping. So with this, I'll just like to dabble on a bit on what does a career trajectory of a typical PM looks like. This just as an FYI, so that it kind of helps for people who might not know it. So while the hierarchy and designations might differ from company to company, this is the view of how largely the trajectory will look like. And also in this slide you can see how it's different across companies. So this is from one of the sites, levels.fyi. It kind of shows how different PM roles across different companies might mean something else, though it might be senior PM in one company, but it might just be a product manager, or even for that matter associate product manager in some other company. So hence this kind of clarity gives you that crystallized thinking, that where are you applying and what is it making sense for you or not, and not just go after the designation, but also understand what is the role exactly about. Yes, so now that we've kind of briefly covered what is product management and how does how does the trajectory kind of look like, how is that across companies, let's see how to actually gain experience and develop that skill set that we have like spoken about. So here, these are the like major steps. First, evaluate. So, one of the initial and very important steps for anyone looking to move to product management is to evaluate and understand what the role entails and if it is something that makes sense for you. So, most of the areas we have covered in the sorry, okay, I heard someone. Um, okay, yeah. So, most of the areas that we have covered in the previous sections, but some of the things which helped me kind of evaluate if this was making sense for me or not, was first to understand what are the basically. Just a second. Are you still able to see my screen? Just a second. Let me. Okay. Okay. Hope this is visible.
Yes, yes, it's visible.
Okay. Yeah. So these were the resources which kind of helped me, to evaluate if product management was something that was making sense for me. So there are a lot of PM communities on LinkedIn, on Slack, that you can be part of. PM School, Inside I Am, Mind the Product, Women in Product School. So first I would suggest that follow all such pages and all such communities, that so that you are aware what's going on in the industry and what is the role all about. Then there are a lot of like free product conferences that are happening across, and given post covid, it's a global world, where we can attend these conferences from the comfort of our home. So these are some of the conferences that I've listed down. There might be even more. So it helps to kind of understand what is the day to day of each product manager, and does it make sense, and does it kind of go well with the trajectory that you have in mind. And then always have strong group of peers and mentors, so your network will definitely help you. So reach out to folks who you think are at places where you want to reach, and you can communicate with them, you can talk to them, understand what is their profile like. And then there are a lot of online courses and articles. So many of the product communities have free courses as well, and I think there are a lot of cohort courses as well, including one with PM School, which provides a cohort based course. So you can use all these to kind of evaluate if being a PM is the next step in your career trajectory. So, and just to kind of, before we land to experience, it's kind of good to understand, like when you're talking to other peers or mentors, you can try to understand what is the duties and traits. So we have kind of covered it, but personalized experience of each one in different industries will give you even more insights. And like career understand their career trajectory, what are the exit options like, and then analyze the space that you want to be a PM in. So there could be B2B, it could be B2C. Do you want to be in a big firm, an MNC, or a growth startup is more of your calling? So depending on which industry you are in, which company you are in, and which product you are catering to, the entire product manager experience might differ a lot. So hence it becomes very crucial that you take the base learnings, but then speak to a lot of people and then try to understand where is like what interests you more and where maybe you want to go. So yes, so with this, once you have evaluated and you're very clear that yes, being a product manager is what you want to do next, then it comes to a very tricky part, which is the experience. Because the catch 22 of product management is that no one will hire you as a PM unless you have a product management experience. So you know how to sail through this. And some of the methods that I have personally employed that open gates, to new opportunities for me. First was internship. So a lot of companies, especially startups, have now opened internships opportunities, and it could be internships or an APM kind of a role, where it's just a beginner kind of role, and it not only add to your resume but also gives you the chance to try and test the work before. So I personally, like to go by the route of referrals rather than applying through a larger pool of candidates and through a middle party, because applying through referrals have worked wonders for me. So even getting my internship at the London-based startup, even before joining ISB, was through a referral, and I ended up getting a full-time offer from the company even before I did my MBA. So that could be a route. It could be a risk because you might have a full-time job already. So try for an APM role if you can, or maybe some kind of a freelance work or project that you can do. The second would be case competition. So this kind case competition are kind of a mini trailer of how a product feature might, like the thinking of it and the planning of it might go. So there are numerous resources, such as there is Unstop platform, which was initially called Dare to Compete. Then there are PM School, Product Folks, Product Hood. They conduct weekly or monthly case competitions, and you can repeatedly participate in them. It kinds of helps you improve a lot. As when the results are announced, even if you have not one, you can always go through the winning entries and kind of figure out what has worked for them and how was their thinking process. So this has helped me a lot personally, and I've participated in and my initial encounter with PM School was through one of the case competitions that I had participated in. And in the other this slide, I'm kind of sharing what are the prompts of case competition, what does it usually look like. One of them is from the PM School website only, and the other one is actually one of the companies prompt that was in one of the rounds. So yes. So yeah, so now you are kind of trying to gain the experience as well, but along with it, read. So read leading tech news and trends. So there are resources such as TechCrunch. Then there is Ken. It develops tech awareness. To this end, you can always pick new products. You can analyze it, tear down it, and break them into uh, like what is making sense in the product, what is not making sense in the product. So that is also a great exercise to do on a personal level. And you can always evaluate product communities evaluation online. So there are a lot of major tools, like major communities which actually pick different products and then break them down. uh, some of them are listed right here, like growth.design has a lot of tear downs or kind of what is working in this product. And even PM cases can be found in PM School and the product folks uh, kind of a database. So yes, and nothing beats the old school book reading for you to understand more about product management, the interviews, the product life cycle. And here is a good snapshot of what to read in what stage of product management. So after this, tools is one of the aspects that can help you a lot. And though the tools a PM uses will vary a lot according to what is their profile and the company that they're working for, but some of the tools that can help you with the case submissions and can help you visualize your solutions better, and even for the case reviewer to understand you better, are the ones that I've just shared on the screen. So slides go, it kind of helps you with the slides template, the infographic. Then there's storyset.com. It has a lot of components and icons that you can use for better visuals. Flaticon is used for again colorful icons. Figma is more for UX and design. You can create mockups, wireframes, and there are very like easy to learn videos online as well that you can use to learn it. Mockuphone is kind of a device frame generator. So if you have built a screen and you want to kind of put it in a iPhone cover or iPhone frame, then that is one of the website that I've been using. And Miro is more for flow charts, the user flow, and what is your thinking like, to kind of show that. So yes, yeah, this is like how I've been using Figma, and these two screens are something that I've built through Figma and from scratch. The tutorial of this is also available on the PM School um, uh, YouTube channel itself. You might have to search for it, and it's a so you'll find something like creating a Spotify mockup. And just to add a bit of fun, so there are two screens, like two kind of screens on your screen. Which of these one or two do you think is the original Spotify homepage, and which do you think is something created from Figma? Uh, so yeah, in case you want to take a shot, like one or two, Which do you think is Figma mockup?
Guys, feel free to answer in the comment section down
Yeah,
below.
you can just type in like 2 1. Okay, so I think Raghuraman is saying two. And Raghuraman, any particular point? Oh, oh, I think Shituja is saying first is the Figma. I'm actually very obliged in case this is uh, something you thought that first is the Figma. But Raghuraman, do you want to share maybe in one line why do you think two is the Figma? Any particular uh, any UX part of it that you think clearly calls out that this cannot be the screen? Feel free, it can be wrong, it's fine. Anyone wants to take a shot? You can just type in, like, yeah.
Feel free to unmute yourself also in case you feel that typing is hectic and not your thing. Just feel free to unmute yourself and
Somewhat transparent in the second one. Okay, oh nice, this is a new one. Yes, good observation, Raghuraman, thanks for it. Sorry, not transparent. Yeah, but I understood what you were saying. So if you can kind of you see also there's a bit of gradient on the top left of the first, and the second one is the Figma, but you can see the second one is very like monotone. Then you can also see that I've just added pictures, but Spotify also have like the pictures had have headings on their own. So even here there's like in the daily mix one is just picture of Preetham, but they have some pictures along with a poster kind of a vibe. There's something overlay, there's something written. So it's very, but thank you so much for, I think this is the first time that somebody guessed that first is the Figma. So I think I've done good job. But what I'm telling you is this is also YouTube. You can see this how to make it. It's available on PM School YouTube channel, but it's very easy to do. Only I'm using just five of the five of the tools available on Figma, and that's it. So that's not very tough if when it comes to case competitions. In case you have to get the visuals right with mockups. Okay. So yes, with this, let's, we have kind of understood what are the skill set that we can maybe gain, what are the different ways to do it. And now you are all sorted. You are now at that stage that you want to prepare for the interview. You want to get your resume shortlisted, and then finally give the interview. So, what is the interview process like? Yeah. So this is the journal flow followed by major companies, and it's subject to variations again basis on which company you are targeting. But the first is resume shortlist. So most companies will do a resume shortlist round, and I've seen rarely that this is skipped, wherein the applicant is directly asked to submit a case. Sometimes it's also like that the applicant is asked to submit a case also along with the resume, but most of the time resume is majorly asked for the from the applicant. So during our time I remember that Flipkart gave weightage to both the resume as well as the first case or the case submission round in round one only, while Microsoft only had the resume shortlist as round one. Then it comes, then case submission is the next one. So this is similar to case competition that you would have already participated in, or you can maybe always participate in through different communities. And a question or prompt is kind of given to all the applicants, for which they are asked to either submit a slide deck or a document. And this is similar to the product requirement documents. So write, you will eventually be writing this during your job. And some of the companies even skip this step, such as I remember Google only did resume shortlist and did not have any case submission round. But yeah, so these are the first two generally that happens, and then it would be interviews. And I will talk more about the type of questions in the next slides.
अबे यार
I think, yeah, someone is unmute. Yeah, we have good that you muted yourself. Okay, so yeah, next are interviews, and I can talk more about the interviews in the later slides. But you can expect anywhere from 1 to 5 interviews, and the round type might also differ from company to company. And next is the last. Most of the companies might have an HR round kind of sort, where they are kind of discussing and negotiating on terms and the offers. So yes, coming to the interviews, these are the major type of questions that you'll see in a product management interview. The first is product design. There are questions, these are questions where you are asked to improve an existing product or design a new product, or suggest improvements to your favorite product. So it evaluates your creativity and customer empathy. For example, improve YouTube, or maybe what is your favorite product and then improve it, or maybe design an alarm clock for the blind people. So something like these questions would fall into product design. Then we have analytical. These are more focused on metrics and are more quantitative in nature. So examples would be like, how will you measure the success of Facebook reactions? So this is a typical question that can come under analytic bucket. Then are estimation questions, and these are called guesstimates as well. And this is something common for even consultancy folks. So here you have to break down very big problems into smaller chunks and then guesstimate, for example. And yeah, so for example, what is the weight of Mount Everest? So this was one of the questions that was asked. And then you have to kind of simplify things and on the spot kind of come up with a guesstimate of what could be the weight. Then technical questions, these many times depends on the company and the team you are going for. So a lot of companies may tap into it to gauge your ability to communicate with the technical team. But in my experience, none of the companies ask you to code specifically. And the fifth one is the product strategies. So this is more on a high level and might not even be asked in a very entry level position in product management. It is more about whether you can think on a macro scale. Questions like, should WhatsApp have a Spotify integration or not? So it's like a product macro level strategy question. And so out of these like first five type of interview questions, the design and the analytical are the most frequently asked. This is purely my experience, and the experience of my peers. And for preparing for these, some of the good resources would be PM School YouTube videos and Exponent YouTube videos. And then you can always go through questions from PM exercises. So these are the some of the resources that I used, and you can see it at the bottom of the screen as well. So yes, so apart from the five that we have discussed, behavioral questions are what you can always expect in an interview. So they are designed to learn how you would respond to specific situations and whether you are fit for the company's culture or for the team's culture. So from having interviewed for 10 plus companies, here are some of the learnings from my end to traverse the behavioral questions. First of all, do company research, understand the very core values of the company, what is its mission, the vision, and also read about the latest endeavors in product space that the company is kind of going into. Then try to make a list of all the past questions that this company would have asked, and you can use some resources and websites such as Glassdoor, so that you're very clear what could be the expectation, and it makes you better prepared. And then for each of your previous roles or companies or your experience in general, prepare a couple of projects or situations that you are very confident to talk about. And so in my experience, without this go to list of what projects or what experiences you want to talk about, it becomes very overwhelming to think of the situation on the spot when some question is asked to you, and then articulate it also very well and communicate. So it's always good to have those 4 or 5 situations and everything ready. So yes, now that we know like what are the type of interview questions, the D days, the interview, But one tip here regarding interviews would be that once you feel that you are 50% ready, start giving mock interviews. So, this is one of the crucial steps that helped me a lot. As answering something on the fly with time constraints and constantly trying to showcase your structural thinking is very difficult. So, you need to simulate the final day multiple times with your friends, with your peers, your mentors. And I remember before my interview with Google or Microsoft, I used to have a minimum of two mock interviews every day, 45 minutes each. So that kind of helped me a lot to be mentally prepared for my final interviews. And the final stage is the interview. And another tip would be to start out initially by giving interviews for maybe companies or startups which are not your dream companies or startups, and which you are okay to fail, so that your momentum is built. And even if you don't end up joining it, or if you don't end up not getting the offer from them, it's still fine. So by the time you are actually giving the interviews of your dream roles or the companies that you're targeting, you are already in that state of flow. And on the day, be relaxed, be curious about the company, the role, the interviewer, and just have fun. So yes, this marks the end of the slides that we had. And here are some comic illustrations that I've just put in from different sources, so that we end on a laughing note. So it's just like this was the user need, just have a box, and this was what the product manager ended up building. So a very complicated, product feature. Then this is just a PM thing, kind of a thing. Do we ask the developer to work over weekend, or do you communicate to the stakeholders that there's a delay? So very tough situations that product managers have to be in a lot of times. And then this is the essence of a product manager's life, that you are given a very complicated, all intertwined thread, and you have to just make it into a backlog, make it into a feature list, and present it, and then prioritize it. And yeah, this is basically a fun take on that the manager is asking for, that do there is a significant drop in DAO is like daily active users, and he's asking for what is the solutions. And people are saying new features, low price, but the one who's saying the correct answer, which is basically understand why first, why the daily active user number is dropping, is kind of thrown out of the window. So these are just fun illustrations. And yes, with this, I'll open the floor for questions that you might have. Feel free to unmute yourself, or type in the chat. And I think we have correct 20 minutes, so we can take all the questions that you have. Yeah.
Mansi, starting out with a question from Garb. It's actually from LinkedIn Live. So he asked about, can you talk about the technologies or software used by product managers?
Okay. So in general, again, the this would depend on which company you are part of. So, for example, as part of Microsoft, I would use to check, to basically evaluate the data. I would use Power BI, but there would be some companies who are employing, say, Google Analytics. Then in some companies there would be entire different team for design. So those are the folks who are working on, say, Figma. But there are certain roles that I've seen where even the PM has to dabble a bit into the mockups. So Figma becomes a kind of a tool, then a PM should also know. But so what I would suggest is the tools that I've already mentioned. These are very generic, and these can be learned when you are applying for the role. But once you are in a particular company, then it depends on the company's culture and what tools they are employing. It could be Tableau, Google Analytics, Power BI for data. It could be Figma, Balsamic, or anything for. So it would be very company specific. So I think Figma and basic tools that I've already kind of covered here is something you can do at the time of applying. But once you in that company, they can always help you learn the tools quickly. So I think somewhere I'm just trying to find now. Okay. Yep. So these were the, like, at least when you are aspiring, these were enough for me.
Okay, thank you. I think, Garv, that answers your question. Uh, Guys, feel free to unmute yourself or type your questions in the chat section.
Yeah, thank you, Frank, for attending.
Um, Hi guys. I had a question. If you address this question, I apologize. I could not join initially. Well, I was interested in knowing how do people in this corporate world see a product manager from a different industry? Um, how do they take it? For example, I have experience in e-commerce industry. Now, tomorrow, if I go for a fintech company, how do they see it? Is it a complete career transition? They are seeing it as uh, how difficult it is.
So if you're saying transitioning into, from a very different role, so I've seen a lot of folks back in my MBA days who were from a different world altogether. They were not from technology world. I've seen like folks who were from finance background who ended up joining different companies as PM. So that transition is definitely possible. How do you go about it? There are there might be a lot of ways to go about it, but once you are in the company, at least that thing I can assure you that right now, even, and that again depends on, company to company and team to team, but in the
Right.
industry what I have seen, your work is kind of speaking for yourself. So I work with I think around 20 plus product managers, and I'm not sure which background or where do they come from. I only know what they bring to the table and what, they're
True.
contributing to the product. And I've not even seen their LinkedIn's or anything. So I don't think it matters a lot. It's basically maybe during the resume shortlist, if your experience is not very relevant to the company ka role, then it
Mhm.
might become a bit tricky, and you might have to, then
Mm.
through different experiences, kind of build your resume to say
Yeah,
ki acha you belong to a product role. That might become tricky, but once you are in the company, that I don't think matters.
that's true. So the reason why I asked this question is so today as a product manager, I'm currently a product strategist in a company.
Okay.
As a product person, we are very specific about the company's product. We have a lot of experience about the product. We know in depth. Tomorrow, if you go into a different industry, it's not about company how they see it. It's about how we fit into that role. So today, that's why I asked this question. So today, if I am working in an e-commerce firm, and tomorrow, if I go for a fintech world, I know the base things are similar, but the domain knowledge, how important it is. I was asking about that.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, that again depends on, I'm not sure which level of product management you are in, because in the starting level, at least where I am
I'm
right now,
currently at the
I've had
beginning level.
yeah, so I've had 1.5 years of experience, and I don't think at this point the kind of work that I am doing carries a lot of domain knowledge to it, because a lot of skills of product management are very transferable skills.
Hmm,
If you have those basic 70-80% of the skills
true.
uh, at point, the other 20% which might, include domain knowledge of sorts, can also be learned on the job, is what I think at this point of stage of my career. But yeah, not sure of, at a certain level, and when you are say GPM or certain level, what how does it work? Yeah.
Uh, Thanks for answering my question.
Yeah, no problem.
I think just to add to that, um, hi Mansi, great session today. Yeah,
Thank
I was
you.
just joined a little late, but like yeah, lot of valid knowledge for people who are like transitioning into product managers, becoming product managers. To answer your question, the domain knowledge, at least when you're starting off, is not that important as much as your willingness to learn. I think that is something which everyone who or any product leader who's hiring for a team will look for. People who can really have taken the initiative to know a little bit about the industry before the interview, so that you demonstrate that you take the initiative. And second, be willing to willingness to learn and ask the right questions and try to get answers. That's the skill which you'll be implicitly tested in the interview process. So I think um, you will still need to know a little bit about industry before you go to the interview process, no doubt about it. But you're not expected to know everything. So the basics and fundamentals is what something you should understand, and at least the space where that product and company is working in, that's something that you'll have to fairly understand. It's good for you to know that before you interview.
Yes, makes sense. Okay.
We have question from Frank. He says that he is in a management and technology consulting with an MBA, and he is planning to transition to a product manager. Okay, so he was planning to build a portfolio or a project. He's asking if there are any suggestions we can give him. Should it be a end-to-end code published on Play Store and build analytics on it, or not waste effort on build theory case problem solution such as PM school weekly challenges or any theoretical or study work?
Okay, I think I didn't get the last part of it, Frank. I understood the first part of it where I think you are saying that portfolio and you're building a portfolio. So should it be end-to-end code publishing on Play Store? I don't think that is required. At least like when I was transitioning and the peers that I have worked with, none of them has ended up building a code end to end and then publishing it because uh, coding would be something usually and in general not a part of a product manager's profile. So you just need to think about the customer, the problem that they are facing, then think of solutions and your proposal. That is what I majorly understand with portfolio is generally different cases or different products that you would have just picked up and you would have tried to solve for the existing problems in it or you would have tried to improve on it. So I don't think like publishing code and building it on Play Store is something required. At least I have not done it and I have not heard anyone doing it. And then what is I did not understand the last part of it. So if you are saying overall taking part in weekly challenges or what are the case competitions, that would kind of help you because most of the companies that I've come across have one or the other round of case submission. So these case competitions are very similar to the case submissions that a company kind of makes you do. So if you are, and also the product thinking that you want to build on, the structural thinking that you want to build on while answering the questions during interviews or while actually going through the journey of a product manager is something the case competition is kind of a trailer of. So at least in my case that has helped a lot to build in a very structural and a very connected way. So yeah, so
Yeah.
if you're saying case competitions, I think in general they have been helpful for me and the folks that I've spoken to who have been transitioning.
Yeah, I think that's what we keep. Sorry, Mansi, to add to it,
Sure, sure.
very relevant. And that's what we keep encouraging folks who join us in the live program. We have like a uh, case study or case submission every week, and we encourage everyone to attempt as many case building these case studies as possible, because it's about how you approach it. It's about the approach, right? It's about being more hands-on in being able to like break down, let's say, product specific products to analyze what's working, what's not working, how we can improve it, how we can add more features to it. It's about the practice of doing that, which will help you get better in your interviews, right? And it's about the skill, building the right skill as well, because even once you join a place as a product manager, your day-to-day job constantly involves uh, doing other the product breakdowns of your competitors as well, right? And figure out what's working for them, what's not. Gathering information from varied sources and building a case on top of it, like what needs to be built, etc. All of those it's a constant skill in your journey. So think about case submissions, or probably building case studies as practice to the actual work, and the actual interview process.
Yeah, makes sense completely. And I think I see Divij's question also, that can you please provide a few reading resources? So Divij, I've just like put the screen on that page. These are some of the resources like TechCrunch can articles, and then these are some of the books. Though they look a lot, I would suggest Hooked, Decode and Conquer were the two that I have used, or like that I have read definitely. So Decode and Conquer and Hooked. Maybe you can begin with Hooked because it kind of gives you like what is a it develops your interests a lot. And then Decode and Conquer and Cracking the PM interview is more about the interview process and how to go about it. So at different stage there are different books which, depending on which stage you are in, you can kind of check it out.
Yeah,
Otherwise, the
this
online
picture
resource.
is gold, Mansi.
Yeah, I think I also found it somewhere and I've kept it because I'm also going through these books only then. And now, as a practicing PM, is a different set of books in my portfolio
Yeah,
that I have to go
I
through.
understand that.
Yeah.
Folks, we still have about 5, 6 minutes, so we still have an opportunity to ask more questions, doubts, and anything which we can help with, right? While you're preparing for your journey, become product managers.
There's a question on LinkedIn Live. Being a
Sure.
product manager, how often do you deal with ambiguity and certainty, and how do you approach this decision making?
This is a very good question. How often? A lot of times. And how do I approach it? So yeah, I'm because it's been 1.5 years for me in the industry. So I'm learning from my managers, from my peers, from my all the everyone who's there to help. But so it depends on the question again. If if it's a question about should a feature be built or not, I like to be very to clear off the ambiguity. I like to be very data driven. So one thing is you have some sort of a data in your product itself that can help you define if this feature needs to be built or not. The other could be that you have some customer feedback, maybe on Google Play Store, or there are internal ways that we kind of find out what is the customer asking for. So second way to kind of clear is the qualitative feedback that the user would have given us. And then third would be a competitor analysis that I would kind of go about to understand what is the major competition doing and what is working for them. So based on these three pillars, as of now, this is my understanding. The data, the qualitative feedback from the customers, and your competition analysis is something which kind of very clearly helps you identify if this feature or say this needs to be done or not. And if for example none of this exists, then you can always take a call, like discuss with all of your managers, and some sort of a hypothesis you can build, and then you can experiment. So in product management there's a lot of experimentation that goes on. What we'll do is we'll build some things, a smaller POC kind of a version of it. Then we'll maybe go to the beta users, which are the early adopters, see how they are working. We also do a lot of customer interviews where we can discuss with them. And once in customer interviews and everything this is passed, it might even go to GA, which is like production, to 10%, and then we'll figure out if now the data is supporting it or not. Do we want to roll up or roll back? So what I'm saying is everything is very like step by step. So initially, to understand if this feature needs to be, there are some ways. If there nothing of that sort exists, then you can always experiment. You can always go back to the customer and discuss with them, and these different ways kind of help you drive your way through the ambiguity, in my personal experience. Yeah. Hope that answers for you on the LinkedIn life.
Now, short answer, yes. Deal with uncertainty. I think it's about how you deal with it, which makes all the difference for your product and growth of your product. Although the lower you are in the, I mean, more if you're just starting off within a company, the percentage of ambiguity is lower. You're still required to do all the work in terms of getting the right information, doing market research, and coming up with a hypothesis, and then building a particular feature or improvement to an existing feature. You'll be shouldering more, I would say, ambiguity as you rise up the ranks. But it's a different kind of ambiguity. It's not after a point, it's not, let's say if you reach like at the level of head of product or VP of product, you'll be shouldering ambiguity on which market to enter, right? Or which country to launch in. Those it's more high level, not and you'll slowly move away from the nitty-gritties, which you have a team working on to answer.
Makes sense, yeah. Great that you liked it, David. Thank you so much for your message.
All right, I think we are done with today's session. Again, Mansi, thanks for joining us. As always, it was a pleasure to have you with us. And I'm pretty sure, folks, you've had a great time as Mansi walked everyone through her own journey and then what to look for, right, in becoming in your journey to become a product manager. A lot of useful information shared. Just to note that this recording will go on YouTube in a day or so. Please wait for that, and we'll probably add the link to the deck as well to the recording, so you have access to it. And that's it for today's session. I just want to add one more note about PM School's live program, which is going to kickstart this weekend. Anyone who's interested in becoming or who wants to really boost their chances to become product managers, now's your chance. We have the 8-week compressed PM School live cohort program, which is going to start this Saturday. So please reach out to anyone from the PM School team. Will be dropping an email as well talking about the program, so you have access to it. But otherwise, you can just go to pmschool.io and fill in the form, and then we'll get back to kickstart the next steps. With that, we end today's session. Once again, thanks for joining us. It was lovely to have you. Folks on LinkedIn Live, thanks for joining us and here as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye.